When developing a system for rating football players, there are many factors to consider. For example, does it matter if we explicitly model the fact that there is a home field advantage in football? And if we do model the home field advantage, is there anything we can learn about this aspect of football? Hello and welcome to Football Player Ratings. My name is Lars Magnus, and on this channel I post videos on how to rank football players using mathematical models and historical data from past football matches. Previously we have looked at how to calculate regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings for football players. This seems like an interesting starting point for ranking football players, but there are lots of aspects of football that are not included in the models that we have seen so far. In this particular video, we will take a look at the home field advantage to see how we can incorporate it in our models and to see whether it has an effect on the rankings that we produce. It is well known, of course, that there exists such a phenomenon as the home field advantage, and several scientists have looked at the reasons for why this effect exists. Different studies have shown that the advantage is related to, for example, the traveling time and the traveling length, in particular when crossing time zones, the home team crowd support, referee biases, and whether the match is played on artificial or natural grass. Whatever the reasons are for the existence of a home field advantage, is this something that we have to care about when we develop ratings for football players? When using regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings, the idea is that the sum of the ratings of the home team minus the sum of the ratings of the away team should approximately equal the observed goal differences in each segment of a match. The details of this was described in the previous video posted on this channel, and there is a link to that video in the description below. Now, if we want to include home field advantage in our model, we basically need to add something representing this home advantage to the left-hand side of our equations. It might be argued that without compensating for the home field advantage, players on the away team are unfairly treated by our previous regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings. However, since most players will appear in about the same amount of home matches as away matches, it may be that this does not influence the calculated ratings to any large degree. In this short video, we will cover 5 different methods to deal with the home field advantage in our regression models, where the first of those 5 is basically to ignore it, as we did in the previously described regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings. The simplest way to include a home field advantage is to add a single variable to the left-hand side for all matches that are not played on neutral ground. For example, in a match played between Chelsea and Sunderland in May 2017, minutes 28 to 62 are written like this, according to the regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings. However, with the added home field advantage, the same observation is written like this, with one extra variable representing the home field advantage. To evaluate this, we will use a dataset spanning 8 seasons of 10 different divisions of domestic football, as well as some European competitions and some international games. We then run our model once every month and plot the estimated value of the variable representing the home field advantage. It takes a little while before the estimated value settles down, but after about 2 seasons, we could conclude that the home field advantage amounts to about 0.4 goals per 90 minutes. However, as we go along, we can observe that the estimated advantage is decreasing. At the end of the 2016-2017 season, our estimate is down to about 0.35 goals per 90 minutes. This indicates that perhaps the home field advantage is changing over time, a result that has been found in other studies as well. Before we look into whether we should also model the home field advantage as being time dependent, let us also look at what happens if we include a separate home field advantage variable for each country, treating the European competitions and the international games separately. We then observe that there seems to be quite different levels of home advantage in different countries, with the largest advantage being found in Spain and in European matches, and with the lowest advantage being found in Germany, Italy, and in international matches. While interesting, It turns out that this splitting of the home field advantage into separate values for each country is not helpful when trying to estimate player ratings. Let us therefore go back to the single variable estimate of the home field advantage and see if we can make this estimate time dependent. To achieve this, we will first try to let the advantage vary linearly over time. That is, we include two variables for home advantage in the model, one representing a constant term and one representing a linear change of the advantage over time. We can plot the results as follows. The blue line shows the estimate of the current home advantage as estimated throughout the dataset. The gray line shows the final estimate of the home field advantage when taking into account that it is allowed to change linearly over time. This confirms that the home advantage seems to have decreased over the 8 seasons of data, and the current day home field advantage is estimated to be around 0.3 goals per 90 minutes. However, it also seems that the linear form does not match perfectly. We therefore also test a quadratic form, where we introduce another additional variable to allow the home advantage to vary as a quadratic function of time. We jump straight to the results, and the yellow line in this figure shows the final estimate of the home field advantage. With the dataset we have, the best fit for this estimate makes it look like the home advantage is actually increasing near the end. However, it seems this is because the quadratic form does not actually fit, and possibly because the home field advantage actually declined only in the beginning of the 8-season period, and then has been relatively stable for several seasons since. In any case, we have now presented 5 different methods for dealing with home field advantage. We now need to settle which method to go for. Luckily, in a previous video we described a procedure for evaluating different player ratings, with a link to that video in the description below, and we can use this procedure to test which of our 5 methods is preferred. Our previously studied methods are indicated in the following figure. What we have discussed so far in this video used as a starting point the rightmost version of the regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings. Now, if we were to plot the results of our 4 new variations in this figure, we would hardly have seen them at all, because it turns out that home advantage is not really influencing our estimates of player ratings that much, and the resulting dots would all be overlapping with the previous dot. If we zoom in, however, we can see that there are some slight differences between the methods. The lowest observation is the regularized adjusted plus-minus ratings. This means that all the 4 new versions improve the repeatability measure. The leftmost observation is from when we split the home advantage into separate estimates for each country. This is actually worsening the prediction loss of the ratings. The other 3 methods are improving both the repeatability and the prediction loss. To choose one among them, we will use the prediction loss as the most important criterion. The rightmost observation corresponds to the model where home advantage was allowed to vary linearly over time. This becomes our final model after adding in home advantage. Having seen that adding an estimate of the home field advantage to our models does not really influence the quality of the ratings produced, we may nevertheless have a quick look at whether our ranking of the best players in the world has changed. With our previous method, and using the same data set as throughout the tests in this video, the top 10 list looked like this. In the new list, the top 3 remains unchanged. The players in ranks 4 to 6 swap places with each other, while number 7, Arjen Robben, moves down to number 12 and out of the list. Xabier Alonso makes the exact opposite move, entering the list. That is all for now. If you have any questions about home field advantage, feel free to post a comment in the section below. In the next video we will look at a more critical extension of our model, namely how to deal with players that are being sent off after receiving a red card. Until then, take care and see you next time.